little coffee on my lap.
Oh, okay. That was part of the intro. I'll keep that in. Hello, everybody. It's James here with WSI. With me once again from Bombay, Michigan. It's the homicidal, suicidal, genocidal, death-defying Sabu. How you doing, my friend? Sorry, it's morning. I'm waking you up.
It's okay.
Tell me about the jacket.
I got it from these guys on the internet called Stash Page. They gave it to me. It's a redo of an ECW jacket.
Yeah.
I had an ECW tracksuit like this before, but not exactly like this.
Yeah. Is that like a authorized repro, or are they just doing it off their own back?
I don't know. I got taken advantage of an ECW so much it doesn't matter.
No, that's fair enough. Absolutely. I'll ask you a couple of things before, and then we'll get into the meat of it. Since we last spoke, you told me you were done with wrestling. Are you still done with wrestling? You've not got any offers to come back in, have you?
I haven't gone back on that yet. I'm still hurting. It's not that because one reason I stopped wrestling is because of my injuries. The other reason is my heart's broken. I don't have it in me no more after Super Genie died. I don't have it in me to want to wrestle no more.
Right.
I can't even think about wrestling.
No, that's absolutely fair enough then. With so what's sort of like a week in wrestling for you now? How many bookings are you keeping up with it? It's just signings.
I do 1 to 3 bookings a weekend. Autograph signings and meet and greets, whatever you want to call them, like that. And now and then I do a run in, but not a run in. I walk fast in.
Right. Be honest with me. Has anybody said, "Listen, 10 grand for one final match, will you do it?"
If they gave me half up front and gave me 6 weeks to get in shape, now I do it.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Fair enough then. I'm trying to think.
Nobody's offering that much, though.
So what would it be? Would 10 grand be like the magic number to get you back in for one more go, or?
That would get me to think about it, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I talked to somebody the other day, and they said they want to talk to me about coming in. I'm not going to say who. And I said, it's going to cost you $1,000 just to talk to me because I'm not interested. I said $1,000 just to have a conversation, and I'm probably going to say no.
But the easiest $1,000 you'll ever make, then I suppose.
Yeah, maybe, but it'd be a hard decision because I don't want to wrestle no more because I'm not as good as I was. I'm not up to my standards. I'm not. If I watched me wrestle now as a young guy, I would say that guy's too old. He shouldn't be there.
Yeah. One more thing before we move on to the main quiz was that I hadn't realised until I read up on you today that you're like partly Lebanese. And it's like, man, I love this of nothing. I love Lebanese food, man. Lebanese food is like Greek food, but nice.
You ever heard of kibbeh?
No.
Kibbeh? Okay, well, kibbeh is like a Lebanese hamburger, but that's what my uncle named his sheep, his snake called kibbeh. Yeah, snake.
Yeah, dude. Honestly, I don't know why the Lebanese do such great food, but it's absolutely amazing stuff. Sorry, carry on.
My mother and uncle are full Lebanese. I'm half.
Yeah, well, I'm half Spanish, and I stick with the paella. I stick with some of the omelets and stuff like that, and then we'll move on from there. Right, I will move on to the main thing. We've got about an hour. I'm going to fire some questions that I'm sure you've asked before. Some maybe you've never been answered before, and we're going to go straight into when you go to Eastern Championship Wrestling. And I'm wondering, this was just shortly after Eddie Gilbert had left, and it's been hinted at me why Eddie Gilbert left, but do you know why Eddie left?
I don't know exactly, but actually my first day there is the first day they fired Eddie, and that was the first day they hired Paul. I just happened to be the first day there. It wasn't a plan. I called like Todd Gordon a week or two in advance and said, could I come in? And he said, yeah. So it wasn't like a big plan.
No, Taz comes in at the same day as you, so is this just all happenstance?
Well, because they wanted Taz because they thought he wrestled like me and he'd be able to handle me because they thought I was, too crazy, but they didn't know that, I'm working.
Yeah, so I was also looking, I think we may have spoken about this last time, when you go to Eastern, it wasn't Paul that brought you in, was it? Was this a meeting with Todd, or was this a third party who recommended you?
I was talking to Paul because he had another idea or project he had in mind called World Wrestling Network, WWN. And he wanted me to come in for that, but until he got that going, he wanted me to come in for ECW, but he didn't give me no date. So a guy named Dennis Cardozo told me to call Todd Gordon, and he actually gave me his number, and I called him, and that's how I got booked. Like Paul was going to bring me in, but Todd jumped the gun or jumped in before it.
Yeah, that's so fascinating. You bring up World Wrestling Network because that was a Jim Crockett thing, wasn't it?
Yes, yeah. Jim Crockett was involved. When I first came to ECW, Jim Crockett, Paul Lee, and Todd Gordon was running the company.
Yeah, well, I was going to ask, what was Paul Heyman's relationship with Crockett?
I don't know. I have no idea. Other than NWA and WCW, you know.
Yeah, I suppose that, but with because Crockett had left a few years before, obviously when Turner had bought it. Was Crockett trying to get back into wrestling in a big way? And
I think he was teasing that, or at least he had Paul interested in that, you know.
Yeah. Speaking about Todd, sorry, apologies. Sorry, say that again. Sorry, I talked over you.
If Jim Crockett would have came in, that would have given us instant credibility, but instead we had to work for it.
Well, I was going to say, because it was still NWA Eastern at the time. Was was Crockett still a member of the NWA at this time?
No, he sold it to WCW or to Ted Turner, and he was out.
Yeah, with the World Wrestling Network, I was reading about it, and it says it wanted to stream over the internet in HD in 1994. It's like you couldn't even get a naked photo of a girl in under 20 minutes in 1994 on the internet. What was the idea behind it?
Well, it was Paul's idea. I don't know where he got it from or whatever, but he had a vision in mind. He didn't quite tell me everything. He just told me what he had in mind for me, and then I was on board. But then it never came about. ECW came about.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll move on then. Todd Gordon. Can you explain to me what his roles were apart from being the owner? What was he doing day to day for the company?
He was hanging out with the boys. He was hanging out with me and Sandman, Fonzie, Scorpio. He was one of the boys. He wasn't an office guy. He was one of the boys.
So he didn't contribute to ideas or anything. He just
when he felt like it, because it was his money, it was his company. So when he felt like it, he'd say something, I'm sure. But mostly he just wrote it up like we did.
With Todd Gordon, is he sort of like Joel Goodhart in the way that he was just like a big fan and, to use the term, a bit of a money mark in that sense?
I didn't know Joe Goodhart that good. I don't think he was like that. He was more business in mind. That's why he sold the company. If he was a mark, he would never sold the company to Paul. He didn't get much money for it, but he got what he put into it.
Yeah. Is and I'm sure you'll answer in the affirmative, is Todd God?
I guess so. I'm Indies. Got an Indies. ECW, I'm not, other people might be fooled by it, but it was only, strike me dead, but it was a glorified independent. We didn't have real paychecks. We didn't have no plans, and we didn't even know if we were booked the following week.
No, and it never ran like in the week fully. Was it always weekends? That was the schedule throughout. They never ran like a Wednesday.
Only weekends. Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah. So during your early days, or maybe even later days with ECW, were you always working for other promoters, or was ECW your only job for most of it?
My main job was FMW in Japan at the time I went to ECW. When I was at ECW, they were paying me less than $1,000 a month. That's only because of one show a month. But I was making that a night in Japan. So when I chose Japan over ECW that time in '95, I was choosing $700 over $6,000. It was easy to pick.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll probably bring that up a little bit later. One more thing about Todd then, and I've got to ask about the Travelodge. When did the Travelodge start becoming a regular weekly haunt?
Probably about after a year we got in there, because we got kicked out of the Marriott at Holiday Inn, and then eventually we got kicked out of the Travelodge.
What year did you get kicked out of the Travelodge then?
Because we'd get a whole floor, and the whole floor would be partying, even with the fans and with the boys. It was crazy.
One thing that I always find fascinating about, apart from sleeping in a room with the outline of a dead guy that you did that time, is there were no women practically in the ECW audience, but there were always loads of women at the Travelodge. Were these girls actually fans, or were these fans of the boys? They were
the girls at the Travelodge were fans that would drive you around, buy you food, stuff like that. Because a lot of the boys didn't make much money, and they didn't even stay in the hotel, because they drove back home or went to New York back home. But there wasn't many girls at the arenas, but there was some at the hotels, but they weren't that good.
Yeah. I remember seeing an interview with Danny Doring years ago, and he said it sort of, if you're in that sort of world of Travelodge excess and hedonism for too long, it really warps your sexuality. Did you sort of talk about that and tell me what you think about that statement?
We're not talking about sex with me. I had nothing to do with that. We're not. No, I'll pass on that.
Oh, fair enough then. Who was most into the Travelodge lifestyle?
What's that again?
Who was most into the Travelodge lifestyle of wrestling and then straight to the Travelodge for 5 hours of double enders?
Me, Van Dam, Sandman, even Taz and Dreamer would stay over on Fridays, Friday nights, and then go back home Sunday morning. But anyways, everybody was kind of involved. Paulie was involved at first, in the beginning. Even Todd, we all partied together. We partied and worked together. It was great.
Okay, so I asked you this last time, and I said the weirdest thing that you'd seen, but in the hotel. But what is the weirdest thing that you happened to pass by someone else's room and looked into?
Well, the chalk line on that body and the blood stain. Other than that, if I said that, I'd be squealing on my friends. I can't talk about that stuff.
That's absolutely fine. I'll move on then. We'll go back to Sabu in Eastern Championship Wrestling when you debut. And I heard Todd Gordon once say that it was like pulling teeth trying to get you to go down the aisle in the trolley and the Hannibal Lecter jacket and the whole bit. How come you're so against this?
Okay, I didn't come down with the jacket. A guy in Japan, Dr. Luther, was doing that. He works for AEW now. But he did the Hannibal Lecter with a face mask and the thing. They probably talked me into it right before I went out. He didn't tell me. He sent somebody over and handed me this mask. And I said, "You're joking." And I was probably, "What is this?" He goes, "Yeah, put it on and we're going to wheel out in the gurney." I go, "No, I'm not doing that." He goes, "Yeah, Dr. Lecter or Hannibal Lecter." And I go, "No, I'm not going to do that. Someone else already does that." He goes, "No, it's going to be different. This, that. I'll give you $500 extra more dollars." I said, "Okay, I'll do it for the $500, but I'm not going to do it again." But each time I went out on that journey, I got $500 extra dollars. So I wrote it for a few months.
Yeah,
I didn't like it. I didn't like it because, like I said, that gimmick belonged to somebody else who was already doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. Did you have any suggestions of how to make it your own kind of thing, or did you just end up just getting paid off and said fine?
I got paid off, but I never said fine. I even though they were paying me more, I resisted it every time anyway. I kept trying to talk them out of it. But it did get over, especially the first couple of times. It got over huge because I was throwing chairs all over the place, but there was nobody sitting there, So I wasn't coming close to hitting anybody.
Well, do you know what's funny is that sort of leads me exactly into the next question, is because Japan does not have the lawsuit culture of America. When you started doing the Wild Sabu thing in ECW, I mean, yeah, it was the Wild West, but did anyone pull you aside and say you can't get into it with fans?
Yeah, well, in Japan they did. They said, stay away from certain sides of the audience because there'd be mafia sitting there. But in the States, yeah, everybody told me to be careful of the fans, and I am. I know what I'm doing. When I go crazy, it's a controlled crazy. It's not really crazy. It's working. If you think I'm crazy, then I might be doing a good job.
Yeah, I think absolutely you are. Did any times you forget and someone... I remember seeing a video years ago of someone trying to grab your headdress and just automatically went bang and turned around again. Was that in America?
No, that was in Japan. It was for New Japan. I was on the way to the ring. It was the first time I wore the turban like that. Before that, I wore a head wrap turban like an Indian, a Hindu Indian. And my uncle said, when I jumped to New Japan, my uncle said I could wear his type of turban now. So I did. So I was going to the ring, and the guy just ripped it off me. But when I jumped the guardrail and beat the guy up, it was the wrong guy. The guy took off running. So I just grabbed anybody and started hitting him. And then the security threw him out. And I go, no, that wasn't the guy. I was just making it look good.
Did you, and you also mentioned before, don't go to certain sections of the audience in Japan because you never know if they're going to be Yakuza. Did you ever fall afoul of the Yakuza at any point while you were there?
Yeah, of course. But there was never Mike Yakuza. It was, they were there and they were there. It wasn't like maybe they're there. They were there. They made their presence known. They'd sit with like a group of 40 by themselves, and it'd be almost an empty arena.
Why were they so invested in wrestling then? Or did they actually put money into the business?
I don't know exactly why, other than it looks like showbiz. It's like Hollywood or something. TV to them.
Yeah. So yeah, so it's more just a visible presence to say, here we
Yeah.
are. Yeah, I see.
And the Japanese treated wrestlers like they were baseball players or football players, not like they were fake wrestlers like WWE or WWF. They treated them like they were sports heroes.
Yeah, I remember hearing once that they all dressed like Bill Cosby at the time. Is that true?
Probably.
That's with the weird sweaters sort of thing. I mean, I'm making no other comparisons to Bill Cosby, obviously.
Right.
With the Yakuza, I'll mention a couple more things with the Yakuza. Who did they cheer? Did they boo the wrestlers, or were they just purely there for presence?
They kind of just sat there quietly, but wouldn't move, because FMW was big on street fighting, which would mean we would fight outside the ring most of the time. Very little in the ring, and we'd fight all through the crowd. And when we fought by them, they wouldn't move. Everybody else would move. Regular fans would get out of the way, and we'd even attack some of the fans because they were running. Since they had their backs turned, we'd chase after them. But the mafia we stayed away from, they didn't put us over. They just sat there and watched.
Was this just an FMW thing? Was this New Japan, Old Japan, Big Japan?
No, it was in Big Japan. It was All Japan. It was even New Japan. It's everywhere. It was everywhere. And all different mafias. All Japanese, but different chapters of it.
Yeah, like families sort of thing. Yeah. I was going to ask something else about. Oh yeah, did you ever have any sponsors from the mafia, from the Yakuza, take you out?
Yeah, well, my uncle did. Every time my uncle's in Japan, he always had a sponsor just about every night, and so did Tiger Singh. And I'd get a sponsor every now and then. But usually, if my uncle was with me, I went with him, and yeah, we had sponsors.
Is the missing little finger? Is that for loyalty or disloyalty or for something else? It's
loyalty, but it means you made a mistake. It's a punishment. It's to show to the other guys, look what happens when you fuck up. And I seen one guy like this. All his knuckles were cut. He had one finger. I go, man, he must be tough. And they go, no, he's a fuck up.
No, you just point to doors. You make him useful or something like that. I'll move on then. I'll move back. Eastern Championship Wrestling again, and you start being brought out with 911. Give us some thoughts on 911, because I like hearing about him.
I liked him. The only thing was, it didn't make sense how he handled me. He could throw me around, but nobody else could. But I liked being with him. It was fun, but it didn't make too much sense because he's the only one to control me. Why would I listen to him?
Yeah, exactly.
Other than I was told to.
Yeah, where did he come from? Was he an indie wrestler, just a bouncer somewhere?
He's one of Paulie's old friends, and he brought the ring with Ted Petty.
Oh, Public Enemy.
Yeah, Public Enemy.
Right. So what did he do? He drove the ring around, did you say?
Well, he drove the ring, he built the ring, and Ted Petty and those guys set it up. Well, Ted Petty and other guys set it up, but he was in control of it. But he built the rings and set them up.
Did you because obviously 911 would start trying to wrestle here and there. He doesn't wrestle that often. Did you end up having to train him in some way to keep up with you?
No, he liked being with me. He wanted to actually wrestle on his own, but Paulie didn't want him to. He wanted him to stay a bouncer, not like a regular guy taking bumps.
Yeah, well, that's actually what I was going to ask. Why was he so desperate for him not to wrestle? Was he just bad at it, or
he just wanted to? I don't know. He was in good shape at the time. He wanted to.
Fair enough.
It's hard to sit on. To him, it was sitting on the sidelines. It's hard to sit on the sidelines when you're healthy.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a fine point. I'll move on then. One of your first matches in Eastern is you face and defeat Shane Douglas for the ECW title in like your second match. Do you remember why you were a last-minute replacement?
Because I was a last-minute booking, and they brought me in I don't know why. I don't know why exactly. I don't ask those questions. I just do what I'm told.
Well, I found out, or I think I found out. It was because Sandman, who was originally meant to be in the main event, was comatose in the back. And
I don't think that was true. I don't think so.
Oh, really?
It could be, but I don't think so.
Oh, that's so disappointing. I just thought that'd be so funny.
Well, let me tell you what. At that time, it wasn't okay to get drunk. He had to hide it, so I don't think he would be that fucked up.
Really? Okay.
It was later on. It was okay for him to get drunk because he wasn't that good sober.
So with the genuinely strict rules about not getting messed up before before the matches at first, at least.
Well, yeah, because old school guys, they don't get drunk before a match or high. Me and Rob would smoke weed, and we got a lot of heat for it at first. But then it's a lot easier than drinking. You can't drink before a match. You can smoke a joint before a match. Kind of nerd.
Yeah. The other thing I was going to ask was with Sandman. How many times have you found half dead and had to be replaced?
Well, officially dead probably twice. The other time we exaggerated him dying.
Did anybody have to replace him last minute because he just
No. He didn't die before his matches. He died after the matches in the hotel or driving to the next town.
I'm so pleased you mentioned him dying as well because so he's died twice. You have to tell me the story of both times he died.
Well, he was. We were in a van, Fonzie and Sandman and Raven, and Sandman did an Oxycontin, and he turned blue and stopped breathing. And we pulled to the side of the road, and they did CPR on him.
What was the other one then?
What's that?
What was the other death?
The other one, he was in my motor home. He was in my motor home, and we did a little bit on some stuff.
Oh, right. Okay, then. Is it sort of like, when you're a kid and someone accidentally hits another kid in the group, everybody else just runs away?
Yeah, right.
Is it true that Sandman is actually, I don't know if I'm blowing his cover or something, but he never drank during the week?
He says he didn't, and when I hung out with him during the week, yeah, he was sober. And it took a lot of him to get drunk anyways. He could probably have been hiding it, but I don't think so. But it took a lot for him to get drunk.
Yeah. Also with Jim, Sandman, was he, as far as I can tell, he was actually a really prudent investor. And, all the money he made, he put into property, put into business. I did quite well, with the money that, he earned. Can you speak to that?
I don't know officially or exactly, but yeah, he's a smart guy. And he's a professor on just about everything.
Yeah. I'll move on then. You lose the ECW title quickly to Terry Funk. Which of Terry Funk's retirements was your favorite?
In 1982, when he retired in Japan for the first time.
Is that the...
He retired when I was in high school.
Was that the Forever? Is that one?
Yes. He was only 38 at the time, or 32. He was in the 30s.
What? I know the pretty famous one where Terry Funk retires in... where's he from? Not San Antonio, I'm sorry, Amarillo, Texas. And they had a show there, didn't they, in 97? Were you on that card?
Yeah, it was called 50 Years of the Funkers.
Yeah.
It was 50 years since the Funks were running there.
Yeah, do you specifically remember that card? Because it was like a sort of co-WWF ECW situation going.
Yeah, Bret Hart wrestled Terry Funk. Dory Funk wrestled Van Dam. I wrestled Cactus Jack or Mankind. And it was a lot of ECW guys. And like you said, a few WWE guys.
Yeah, I can't remember if Vader was on as well. Maybe just Mankind and Bret.
So. No, I don't think so.
Do you remember the Terry Funk retirement that New Jack ended up taking up most of the time speeching on?
Yeah, I remember that when he did too much something before the banquet.
With Terry when he came in, I think it was, I don't know if it was 92 or 93, but was he a locker room leader, or was there even a locker room leader in the early days?
There really wasn't a locker room leader when we first got there, because like I said, it was an independent. It really wasn't a regular company for paychecks. It was an independent to hopefully they have another show, not guaranteed another show.
Yeah, I suppose when Eastern becomes extreme and you can sort of hang your hat on it every weekend that you know you're going to get paid, who sort of emerges as the, the locker room policeman or leader or person to get advice from?
I didn't take advice from anybody. I'd listen to guys, but I didn't take their advice. I'd hear stuff what not to do.
Well, I mean, you must have batted ideas back and forth with someone here and there. I mean, would it have been just Rob?
No, that was pretty easy. If I said something to somebody and they didn't want to do it, I had 1,000 other things that they would say yes to.
Fair enough then. I shall move on, and it's probably something you've talked about a heck of a lot, but, you've got my apologies in advance. 1994, Chris Benoit, the neck break. You know pretty much what I'm going to ask you, but what was it? Simple, just easy miscommunication could happen at any time, or...
it wasn't really miscommunication. He said, "I'm gonna hook you and throw you for a belly flop, but don't tuck." But when he threw me up, like he hooked my leg and threw me up, my legs kept climbing higher than my head, and I couldn't flatten out, and I landed on my head.
Right. So it wasn't like, because as I was looking as a kid watching, it seemed to me that he was going for you were going for a back body drop, he was going for a flapjack or similar. Was it not that?
I was going for the flapjack too, but my legs, like I said, he threw my legs up higher than my head. He didn't throw me flatten out. He kind of threw me like that.
Yeah. As far as like broken necks go, in ECW, we've got in the span of a couple of years like Taz, you, and Gary Wolf. I mean, at this point, was everybody just pushing it too hard?
I guess so. It's hard not to push it too hard when you're hungry. And you're denied to work other places because you don't want to. You don't want to fit in. You just want to be yourself. So you try extra hard to make your own home.
Yeah. Is it a case of, can you top this? You see the first match, it's good. Then the second match,
yeah. It was kind of like that, which I disagree with. I don't like, can you top this? Everybody has their spot. Not everybody can do the same thing in the first match that what we do in the last match. And I don't like to top you. That's just, whenever I went out, I didn't try to top the other guys. I just did my thing.
I spoke to Joey Mercury earlier this week, and we noted during WrestleMania both nights, every single match went to the floor. Is that something that, as an old school wrestler, I know as a hardcore wrestler as well, but is that something that would bug you from the first match to the last, everybody goes to the floor?
No, that's just the opposite. It should be a normal, 10-minute Broadway match in the beginning, and then a hardcore match at the end. But softcore in between.
Yeah, it's a coined phrase, the softcore matches. Just a couple more questions on Chris and your neck. So, tell me what the exact injury was.
I had 2 cracked vertebrae, and pinched nerve to my neck. It wasn't a sever; it was a compression fracture. So it wasn't as bad as it sounds. To me, it wasn't a broken neck. They said technically you have a broken neck, but to me, it was just a pain in the ass.
Does this sort of like class itself as like a stinger?
A little more than a stinger.
Right. I take it that
actually a lot more than a stinger.
Right. So what and what were fractured?
It was like C2, C3, or C2, C3, something like that. And the stuff in between your vertebrae was smashed together. I forgot what it's called.
Right. Yeah. The spongy stuff. Yeah. Basically, I'm not a doctor. I just play one on TV. But how long did how long did it take you to? Well, actually, I'll ask a few different questions about the recovery. How long did it take for you to just get some mobility back without worrying that your head was going to fall off?
I only lost mobility for a few minutes. My right side kind of felt dead. After I hit, boom, I crawled out of the ring, then I tripped. I couldn't, my right side went dead. But that came back in about 30 seconds. And it was just the hot nerves on my neck and my shoulder and down my back all the time. I sold it for about 15 years.
Yeah.
So it don't bother me that much anymore, but it bothered me for a long time.
What I was going to ask, like today, I mean, I'll ask this actually as well. Wikipedia, the always reliable Wikipedia, says that you broke your neck twice. Is that true?
No. The second time when Taz did it, it wasn't an official break. I just mad. It feels like you broke my neck. It wasn't. It wasn't. No. One was official.
Yeah. So going back then, how many?
You gotta understand. In wrestling and in show business, you exaggerate everything. 1 is 5.
Yeah, of course.
If I broke my neck once, I broke it 5 times.
As long as you don't break it during this interview, because somehow I'll end up getting sued for it, I'm sure. How many weeks until you could comfortably take a bump again? Or how many months?
Well, I hurt my neck, and then I had 2 weeks off, and I had to go to Japan for 5 weeks. So I didn't do anything for 2 weeks. I didn't even lift weights for 2 weeks. And I took 2 weeks off. Well, I didn't take 2 weeks off. I had 2 weeks off, and then I had to go to Japan, and I didn't cancel. I didn't want to. I was hurting, but it didn't stop me. I was still young enough to feel like I was invincible. Not invincible, but stronger than I was.
Yeah. So basically, you were wrestling at full pace after 2 weeks, then.
Yeah. I did a 5-week tour, 4-week tour of FMW, 1-week tour of New Japan, back to back.
That's astonishing, I must say. I've got to ask, with the wonderful American healthcare system, how much did it end up costing you to get it fixed? Or did you not get anything fixed?
No, when they said that I'd have to stay overnight in the hospital and they're going to fit me for a halo, me and my referee escaped out of the hospital.
Yeah. Oh, who took you?
My referee, Pee Wee.
Pee Wee. I was going to say Pee Wee. I didn't want to.
Anymore.
Yeah, I didn't want to take a stab at that. I'll tell you what then. I will move on then. I'll ask you maybe one more question about ECW. In fact, you know what? I'm not going to. I'm going to go straight ahead. So I wrote, sorry, I'm all about the place. I wrote a load of questions about Eastern, then I went straight to TNA and WWE ECW. If you've got time at the end, we'll do some more stuff. But for now, I'll ask you a couple of TNA questions. And before I do, you did a few tours with WWA. That was that Australian outfit. It was almost like the WCW like extra retirement tour sort of thing originally. What do you remember of WWA? Just a paycheck?
No, it was a paycheck, but it was fun. We did big tours like in Australia and I think England. I think we went and he paid very good. And his name was actually Andrew McManus, like Andrew McMahon.
Yeah.
So right, and he was a good promoter for music, not for wrestling. He was a music promoter.
Well, that's what I was going to ask. Where did this guy even come from? Was it his own money?
He said that he used to book bands like Kiss and the Scorpions and shit like that in Australia, and he made a lot of money, but he lost a lot of money in wrestling.
Yeah, was it the kind of setup? Because obviously TNA comes roughly around the same time. There were all these different independents and supposedly big companies coming out making a lot of promises.
There's no royalties.
I'm sorry?
You said how are the royalties?
No, I'm sorry. I'll re-ask. There's a lot of different independents and companies making a big deal, saying they're the next coming of WCW. Did WWA, TNA, are you looking at them and thinking, no way? And TNA still exists?
I was thinking no way, but I was hoping so. I was hoping so, but I could try. I get 10 offers of new companies starting every week. Maybe one of them will take some weight on it. And they were one of 9 other people who were saying they're going to start another WWE, and so he actually did with money, and with Jarrett, and they almost had to make it. They almost made it.
Yeah, you were on the first TNA pay-per-view episodic. You must have, as somebody who's been in the business for years and years and years, you must have laughed when they said weekly pay-per-views.
I said hooray because it was a weekly check. Because, on the independents, there's nothing guaranteed. I could have a match for tomorrow and it could get canceled tomorrow morning, or it can be canceled when I get to the show. There might not be no show. So to have a weekly guarantee of a pay-per-view guaranteed every week was good. Yeah. I didn't, it makes it oversaturated, yes, but we got paid. We got paid.
Yeah, the more work out there, the better, I suppose, and more chance for people to rise to the top. And they had quality TV and quality arena, so it was a fun looking thing. Yeah. How come you didn't stay too long in the weekly pay-per-view era? You only had like a few shots, and then you don't come back till 2004.
We'll go back to pay again. They didn't want to pay me very much.
That's fair enough then.
They paid okay, but not good enough. Never good enough.
No, well, obviously, no. I know exactly where you're coming from. With 2004, you end up staying there for a good year and a half. Was this during the Dixie Carter era?
Yeah, it was. Of course, it was all Dixie Carter era because Jeff Jarrett started with Dixie Carter.
No, I think Dixie Carter came in like maybe a year afterwards in 2003.
I'm not for sure, but no, I think she was there from the beginning. I remember her from my first day there.
Oh, really?
She ran a music company too.
Yeah, I think she was like a PR woman or something.
Yeah, she had a big deal. Yeah. Well, her dad is a billionaire, anyways. But she was hands on in the very beginning.
Well, that leads me. Well, that leads me to my next question. Actually, is with Dixie. Did you actually spend? Did she know who you were? Was she a wrestling fan? Was she excited to meet you?
Yeah. She said she knew who I was, and yes, she was a wrestling fan. She's a big Jeff Jarrett fan.
Mm. With Dixie, would she come to you with, "Oh, I'd love you to do this today"? As you said, hands on.
No, never that. Other than good luck in your match tonight. Don't get hurt. good luck. She never gave me any direction. Jeff Jarrett, Dutch Mantel, those guys did.
Well, yeah, because this was pre the Cornette Russo sharing era, wasn't it? So was it just Dutch who was the one who was the head or the main person who would tell you what to do?
Yeah, well, Jeff Jarrett was the first guy to tell me.
Yeah, and Dutch was right-hand man.
Yes.
Yeah. With Dixie, and I've got to ask a salacious question, is the rumours about Dixie is that she spent a lot of time late at night with some top talent. Did you ever see anything or hear any rumours of that?
They stayed at a different hotel tonight. I stayed across town in another hotel with a few of the other boys at this other hotel that could be low profiled. But I've never seen them at a hotel or nothing like that.
No, fair enough. I've got to ask these things. Did Vince...
I can't make it up if I didn't see it.
No, absolutely. And I wouldn't want you to. Vince Russo, did you ever have many dealings with him in TNA?
That's funny. I worked with him for about a year. He never said hello to me once. Never. I put my hand out once or twice for him. I think only once. And he didn't catch it. I never put it out again. He never put his hand out even once for me. And whenever he see me, he always be like he's staring in another direction.
Intimidated, maybe?
I don't know.
Oh, okay. Well, I was going to ask, like, working with him. But...
He has no reason to be intimidated. You know, he was a boss. I wasn't.
Well, I was going to say, you know, working with Vince, but apparently you didn't have any interaction with him.
No.
No. Okay. One more thing I've got to ask is: you feud with Raven. You do loads of hardcore matches. You know the big the big stunt match was like Abyss and Spike Dudley and quite a few other guys at that time. I hadn't realised that you feuded with Raven for a while, and then you have one match, and then you were going to do the big return match, and then you hurt your back. How did you hurt your back?
I would. A few weeks before that. The show I missed, I was in Puerto Rico. I bought some steroids in Puerto Rico. Took them home, gave myself a couple shots, and it was contaminated. And I didn't know it. It wasn't because the steroids didn't make me sick. It was because the bottle was contaminated with a infection, you know, with the bacteria. So it made me sick and bring me close to death. But I got sick 4 or 5 days before that match, and I called them like 3 days before and said I can't make it. I'm deathly sick.
What was their reaction like? Oh yeah, right.
No, they believe me because they know I'd wrestle through thick and thin.
Yeah. So exactly what was the virus you were suffering with? Because you were nearly out for a year.
They didn't. They still said it was unknown bacteria. I haven't talked to the doctors or the scientists lately, but when I was 10 years ago, they didn't have no. It was unidentified.
Oh, really? So you had a brand new virus.
Yeah, they tested the steroid bottle I had, and they said there was an unknown bacteria in there, and that they're going to figure it out, but they don't know what it is yet.
Right, so was the back injury never a thing then? That was just like a cover story?
Well, the thing was, when I got that infection, the organisms in the infection, whatever you want to call it, they locate your warmest spot in your body, and they hatch eggs. And then when my groin got full, it started attacking my back, my wrists, my knees, my ankles. But first it attacked my groin. When that got full of like tumors, it started attacking my other weak points of my joints. And it was just every day, every week, every 10 days, another batch would hatch for about 9 weeks.
So this wasn't like a virus. This was like a parasite.
A parasite, exactly.
Oh, blinking! How long did it take for you to get to a point where you could start earning money again?
It took me about 6 months to get over the virus and about another 6 months to get back in shape.
Right, and then you go back to TNA for a bit and sort of pick up where you left off. I think I'm right there. I'll move on to WWE, ECW, and then we'll do a little game at the end, and then I will thank you for your time. 2001. Okay. Now, this is actually something I didn't realise. I assumed that you were with ECW till the end. You weren't. You actually left a year earlier, or more or less, didn't you? How come you weren't picked up by WWF at the time for the invasion?
The invasion? What invasion?
The 2001, just after WCW was bought.
Who invaded who?
well, originally, it's a great question because really WWE invaded WWE.
Well, let me tell you this story. Okay, well, in 2000 or 1999, WCW Kevin Sullivan and J.J. Dillon wanted to talk to me. So I went to go talk to them in Atlanta. I didn't quit ECW now. I was only having a secret meeting because my thinking was I was going to go to WCW, get a buttload of money, and come back to ECW and pick up where I left off. But when I went there, somebody seen me, and they called Paul and told Paul, and Paul called the WCW office and said that he was going to sue them, and so they dropped all dealings with me.
Right. So and Paul was bitter about you going to WCW as well.
Yeah. Well, I didn't go yet. I was doing it underhandedly, of course. But my intentions were to come back stronger than I was. You know, I figured I'd come back a bigger name and I could carry the company better.
Essentially, it's how can I miss you if you don't go away? Come back with a fresh face, that kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So in 2001, and this is just my guess, when WCW, the invasion with the big V, and then ECW invades as well. But really, it's a bunch of WWE guys and Rob Van Dam and Tommy Dreamer. How come, was your name ever brought up, or was Paul Heyman still bitter about WCW?
He was still bitter about it. My name never came up. It barely came up for the one night stand. You know, I wasn't their first choice. They were going to have the show without me.
Is this the first one night stand or the second one in 2006?
Yeah. Actually, the second one night stand, the one with Mysterio, they were kind of pulling back on it, but then they went through with it.
Yeah. A couple more questions about the 2001 invasion. So I take it no one ever reached out to you? No one said, you're perfect for this?
No, I was on bad terms with Paul at the time, and you know Vince was talking to Paul. He wasn't talking to me.
Right, so he was the filter, and he just brought in who he wanted.
Well, he just blocked me. You know,
yeah.
I just to him at the moment. I don't blame him. I don't even have hard feelings for him anymore. You know, I don't blame him for being mad.
No, absolutely. Since you mentioned 2006, just before we talk about the one night stand thing, in 2006, TNA basically, you only do a few shots for them. In 2006, was it just because your contract was coming up, or how come TNA weren't using you?
Nothing to do with contract. It's just that they didn't. I made pretty good money there, not like WWE, but pretty good for the independents. They didn't want to pay me every week. You know, they weren't drawing shit. The shows we were putting on were free in Orlando, and so you know they weren't drawing nothing.
I spoke to Chris Harris not too long ago, and he said the only people who ever got any money were people who were just coming from WWE, like Kurt Angle or Taz.
Sting, Kevin Nash, no, God bless those guys. Ric Flair, Hogan. Yeah, God bless them. If they can get it. But if you were there before that, you didn't make nothing unless you're, Jeff.
With one night or the second one, 2 night stand, let's call it, in 2006. How far out did you realize, or did you get contacted to be brought in?
The first one about a month before, and the second one 6 months before, 4 months before, I think.
All right. So were you keyed up or told well in advance that WWE's version of ECW was going to be a weekly thing? Yeah.
I was told that they wanted me to be the same. They wanted me to change the Sabu of ECW. But when I got there, they tried changing me slowly. Vince wanted me to talk and to be a likable baby face and to be like everybody else. And it was hard for me to be like everybody else. At the time, I was wrestling 20 years at the time, and I didn't want to change.
With now, I'll make a bit of a comment here. I remember watching One Night Stand 2, and it was the match with you and Rey Mysterio that and it wasn't the match itself, but the fact that it ended in a double disqualification, it was like, you're not in Kansas anymore. This isn't going to be the ECW of old. A double DQ in a ECW title match. I mean, did you fight it? Did you accept it? What did you think of that?
I accepted it. I didn't fight it because they paid pretty good, more than pretty good, and it wasn't such a bad match. And, double DQ isn't such a bad finish for me. It gives us the thing was we did the double DQ or double count out because we're going to come back in another match. I don't know what happened to that. Yeah,
with I don't know what happened with it. I don't know if Ray lost the belt quickly beforehand. I don't remember.
I'm not sure. Like I was never one of those guys who were up the Booker's ass trying to say, "Hey, what's next?" or "I want to do this, I want to do that." I figured you're going to tell me what to do because I can make you money.
With you said with the WWE CW, in fact, I said that you knew you weren't going to get the fully authentic product. How long in the process did you realize that this would very much be a WWE, maybe not watered down eventually, but version of?
But watered down was a good word for it. About 3 months in. About 3 months in, after I wrestled Big Show and a few other guys in Test, it went downhill from there. Where they no longer wanted me to be Sabu of ECW, or Sabu from ECW, wanted me to be Sabu from WWE. You know.
Yeah. I when I talked to you last time, I get the impression that of hard-headed, you like your own way, and you know yourself very well. And Vince McMahon has been said that he will never fully get behind a wrestler unless he either completely invents them from the ground up or breaks you down and then remolds you. Is that true to say?
Yeah. Yes, that I think that's true. He starts out nicely and then gets vicious. He lightly said, "I want you to be a likable babyface." I go, "Yeah, right." And then the next thing, "I want you to be a likable babyface." I go, "Yeah, right." He goes, "No, I want you to talk." And I go, "Yeah, right." He goes, "No, I want you to talk now. We're gonna go in the dressing room and talk." I said, "All right, I'll be right there." I'd hide for a while and thinking he'd forget about it, but he wouldn't forget about it.
Was there any thought?
And I had 2 sessions with just Vince and a cameraman and trying to cut this promo, and I was cutting it badly on purpose, thinking he's gonna say, "Okay, no promo," but he didn't. He kept making me do it.
Did you ever do a promo before then?
Not where I spoke. I did one when I was green in Hawaii where I couldn't say nothing. I stumbled on my words. And other than that, when I did that, Malcolm said, "Don't ever say another word again." So I didn't until Vince had me say homicidal, genocidal, suicidal, and then he goes, "I'm Sabu," which is something I would never say. I don't call myself that. Someone else calls me that.
Was there any thought of, or did you ever say to Vince, "Please give me a manager"?
Yes, and he said that to be a likable babyface, I had to speak for myself, and that having the manager speak was Umaga's gimmick. And I said I was doing it before Umaga was born, and before that, my uncle did it. And he goes, "Not here."
No, WWE is everything.
As if my history never happened. I was just going to be a body.
Let me see where I can go from here. I hadn't realised that or I completely forgot. I think it was 1 month after One Night Stand or 2 months after, you're in the main event or co-main event with John Cena. So Vince McMahon was really, really into you, trusting you to go in the main event. Talk about John Cena, and at the time, internet geeks were complaining, "Well, he shouldn't be champion." I don't know why, but
I disagree. He fits the mold of a WWE champion. He's big, juiced up, and can talk and can act and says yes to everything.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely had the look for it. I think it was still at the time that everybody was very protective about the WWE Championship because practically nobody ever won it at that time. Sorry,
I don't really pay attention to the WWE Championship and the World Champ. I don't pay, unless it involves me, I don't really pay that much attention to it.
No, and rightly so. Well, this will involve you then. In that match, you're the veteran. He's the WWE champion, he being John Cena. Who takes charge of putting the match together?
It's 50-50. I never want to put the whole thing together myself, and nor does anybody else. And anybody who wants to put it together themselves usually don't do that good.
Yeah, with Cena and obviously, high-flying, death-defying offense, was there anything Cena was like, maybe not do that?
No, he's the perfect guy for it. He doesn't do my stuff. Same with Big Show. He doesn't fly around or do backflips or crash through tables unless I crash into a table. He doesn't do that stuff, and that's my stuff. When someone does my stuff, it's harder for me to get over or to be, original.
With Cena, you said it was a collaborative effort, the match.
And I say, hold on, I have to start. And when I say my stuff, I mean the stuff I actually came up with from scratch, not a headlock. That was already there. But the other stuff I came up with, tables and chairs and jumping here and there, that stuff I came up with out of scratch. So I was offended when I couldn't do my own shit and someone else was doing it in front of me.
Yeah. With the Cena match, when you're actually in the ring, who will be in charge of sort of planning out the next spot or the next minute of action?
We just, I will know. I usually around 3:00 smoke a joint. Around 3:15 start going over the match until about 5:00 and let it rest until about 9:00 and then do it. There is no, I don't know. There is no percentage here and there. It's whoever has a good idea, I go with. Sometimes I don't come up with almost any other match. The other guy does. He'll say, "How about, can you do this? Can you do that?" And I go, "Yeah, I can do that." And I don't. If it sounds good to me, I don't object.
I'll move on from Cena then. I recently saw on a down market YouTube interview channel that I consider down market to me is you were talking about Ric Flair, and basically he was doing the Vince Russo handshake thing, or not handshaking on purpose. So was this just Ric Flair's deal with you, or elaborate, please?
I don't think he liked my uncle for some reason. I don't even care if he did or didn't, but I think that might have something to do with it, because he cut a promo one time and goes, "I never liked you. I never liked your uncle." And I go, "What the fuck you got to say that for?" You know, and it's because that's what he felt. He never liked my uncle and doesn't like me for some reason.
Well, I was actually going to ask about, so the Sheik, did he ever even wrestle Ric Flair? Or
no, my uncle barely knew who he was. When I had to tell him who Ric Flair was, he goes, "Which one is that?" I said, "He's the blind guy who's the world champion." He goes, "Oh, the fat guy?" I go, "No, the guy's in shape." He thought Chris Benoit, hey, check this out. He thought Chris Benoit was a big midget.
Did he?
I know that guy. He's Diamond Jim. He's a big midget.
Well, did he have like short arms or something? And he just
Chris Benoit has a big torso with short legs.
So like like scaled up.
Yeah, a big midget.
So, for people who don't know, so the Ric Flair thing, how did that start manifesting, and what did he do?
I was in WCW, and I come in, I shake everybody's hand when I first get there. I come down in the middle of the dressing room, put my bag down, and start from the door around back to the door. No matter if I like you or not, I fake it. And he didn't fake it. My uncle says, shake everybody's hand, even if you don't want to. Eat shit and shake everybody's hand. So when I get about 3 guys from Flair, he'd turn his back. So it wasn't a blatant turnaround. The next day was when I got right to him, he looked at me and turned around. It was a blatant turnaround. And I never put my hand out again.
Do you think this is sort of like an ECW thing? Because Ric Flair very much had problems with Mick Foley for years, and they both wrote stuff about each other in each other's books. Do you think that Ric Flair is just dismissive of basically people from ECW or people who use weapons?
Yeah, from what I hear, Ric Flair is very jealous, and so anybody who he doesn't approve of, he steps on.
Yeah,
and like we weren't buddies. He didn't bring me in. I didn't know him from before, and like I said, he had something against my uncle, and they carried it on with me, which I don't mind. It's okay. I don't want to be his friend anyways.
Well, I don't think that many people want to be his friend at the moment. He seems to.
He's a sex offender.
Yeah, yeah. He every year goes by, he really does make it hard to enjoy him as a performer, doesn't he? With his out of the ring antics.
Yeah, when you heard what he did on that airplane, I'm shocked. I've heard, but I didn't really hear in that much detail. And plus, I don't listen to those stories that too much in detail because I know how they're exaggerated. But that story wasn't exaggerated even a little bit, and I'm offended by it.
He even made Mark Madden a babyface in real life somehow. So you must be a heel in real life.
Well, yeah, how you usually is. Back in the day, the babyfaces were the biggest heels in real life. They were the biggest scumbags in real life. Were the guys who were actually the good guys on TV.
I think we maybe got maybe 15 minutes maybe. So I'll ask you a couple more questions about WWE ECW. Then I will thank you, and then I'll do the main event. We will thank you for your time. The Batista Big Show ECW event at the Hammerstein Ballroom. I remember watching that vividly and thinking, well, that's it. That's the last time anything sort of significantly ECW-esque from the old days will be seen on WWE TV, when Batista and Big Show got that awful reaction. You were in the back, you were waiting to go out. What do you remember of that day?
Like when they said they were going to cancel it, they didn't tell us ahead of time. It was canceled and it was gone. It merged back into the NXT or whatever you want to call it. I think it was NXT, but I don't know. It was even when I wrestled Big Show. I was planning on to keep carrying on, still trying to build, and they just wanted to end it.
Yeah, well, this is actually in 2006. This was still when ECW was like a third touring brand briefly. And Batista, Big Show are in Hammerstein Ballroom. The fans are booing it vociferously, and then you come out at the end and attack Big Show. Do you remember that specific night, or shall I move on?
Yeah, I hit him with a chair, and I think I did like a kick with the chair from the top rope. And knocked myself out with it. You couldn't tell, but when I did that kick, I'd land on my head, knocking shit on myself.
Do you remember showing Batista's reaction when they got through to the back? About how much the fans just weren't buying it.
No, nobody held it against them. They know some crowds are assholes. They didn't lose everybody. They just lost that town, that moment.
With ECW, I know it was only a couple of months that ECW, the WWE version, was a third touring brand. Was it just one day you were part of SmackDown and that's all you heard?
No, I heard it was going to be a couple. Well, it was. We had a couple house shows, and then one or two TVs every week. Either a Raw or a SmackDown, and then we had one or two house shows. And that's how you make your money, is on the house shows. You don't make money from TV. You actually do TV for free. That's advertisement, and you make money on the house shows of what you draw from the TV. So if you don't draw from the TV, you don't make as much money as you would.
I'll ask this one then. December to Dismember. How could I not ask you? And I'm sure you've been asked a million times. A few weeks beforehand, you were brought onto Raw, and I think Umaga beat you. And then December to Dismember, you're written off the pay-per-view in a blatant bait and switch when you were supposed to be in the main event. What do you think it was that, as far as I can tell, someone fell out of love with the Sabu thing? What happened?
Stephanie McMahon came to me with this promo. It was a script. It was like about a 3-paragraph promo, probably about 100 words of what I wouldn't say in my last dying breath. I'd never say these words. So I couldn't remember them, and I didn't want to remember them. So she goes, just do your best. And I go, so I was reading the script, and she goes, that sounds like you're reading. I go, I am reading. These are words that are foreign to me. I don't even know these words. Call myself champion and stuff like that. I've never said those words in my life. And anyways, I said, how about I do this? I took the script, I ripped it up and walked away. And then I came back and goes, how about that? And she goes, no, do it again. I go, how about this? And I walked away and hid from her, thinking she's going to forget about the promo, saying he's just no good at promos, but he's good in the ring. She took me off the show. They had them come to me and do an angle where they broke my arm and then flew me home the next morning. I was instructed with security to fly home that morning. I couldn't stay if I wanted to.
So was this on December to Dismember pay-per-view?
December to Dismember, yeah. It was the one where the Chambers or something like that, and there was like 6 guys in the match, I think, and they even put me on the cover of the DVD, and I wasn't even in the match. And I had someone come to me not too long ago, a couple of weeks ago, and say, hey, remember that match you didn't show up for? Why didn't you show up for it? I go, I showed up for it. They kicked me out.
Was this promo script tearing up on the pay-per-view itself, or was this like weeks beforehand?
No, this was the night before, a couple of nights before, 2 nights before. It was on a Friday, I think, and it was going to air on Sunday or whatever. I'm not sure, but it was a couple of nights before. So they took me off a few days before the pay-per-view, but I didn't know that.
Well, they still made you go there, and they still made you get beaten up on, or you were face down, weren't you? They didn't even show a beating up.
I don't remember.
Yeah, no, fair. I can't imagine it's the most memorable thing. I actually did a tiny bit of research. Only 6 out of 25 performers on December to Dismember were actually in the original ECW. So
there you go.
Yeah, I know. And one of them, and I nearly forgot, one of them was Joey Mercury, and I completely forgot he was in ECW as well. So I got it up to 6. You were attacked or credit was given to Bob Holly for attacking you on the pay-per-view, and you were replaced in the main event by Bob Holly. Is that the most annoying booking ever?
Yeah, but like I said, if that's what they want, then they're cutting their own throats. I thought if you're good enough, that should speak for itself. Not on how good you get along with somebody over a script, over something I wouldn't say, and I was deeply disturbed that they wanted me to do it. That's why I walked away. I couldn't take it no more and said, take it or leave it. And they said, leave it, get the fuck out. Okay. But they didn't tell me that right away. I just figured they'd let it go. But then they go, oh no, you got to do a promo tonight. Boom, boom, boom. We're going to break your arm and then set up for the pay-per-view. I said, okay. And then the next day was the morning of the pay-per-view. And they had security at my door making me fly home.
I take it that you didn't see Paul Heyman get fired then late that night?
No. When Paul Heyman got fired, that's when everything went downhill for me anyways. Even though me and Paul had heat, we still respected each other professionally and knew that I was one of the better things for ECW. And when he got kicked out, it made a big difference.
Yeah, absolutely. Righto then. We've got a few minutes left, maybe about 10 minutes left to finish off the interview. I'll do the same things I did last time, the firing line. I'm going to just throw some names out at you. You tell me if you like them, if you don't like them, if you've got a funny story, just you wedge it in there, whatever you want. But I will... oh, here we go. I just got a message saying 15 countdown, so that's absolutely perfect. The first one is Bob Holly.
I never had no bad dealings with him. It wasn't his call to break my arm. He's doing what he's told. He's a cool guy. I liked him.
Yeah. Did you actually wrestle him 1-on-1?
Yeah. No, not 1-on-1 in tag match. Tag match in the Battle Royal one time.
Yeah. Next one is Nova.
Supernova. He's cool. I like him. He was a good student. He had some good original moves. He just didn't get over with them. Everybody stole him from him.
So he didn't get over them. Is it? Why do you think so? Is it just like a size thing or comedy?
I don't know. He's doing moves that what they still can't do today. He was doing them, and I don't know. Sometimes even the best don't get over it. Just because you're the best, don't mean that people are going to like you.
Yeah,
I'm not saying he was the best, but even though if you were,
Yeah. Next one is, and I always love to hear a story about Robert Fuller.
Tennessee stud.
Yeah.
You got a big old dick.
Was this the kind of thing that he was getting out on a regular basis to show everybody?
Yeah, that's like Lawler was. Jerry Lawler was the same way. When they got to the hotel, they stripped naked. Ric Flair, they stripped naked, run up and down the hallways. And Robert Fuller did that when he got to the arenas too. As soon as they get to the arena, they take their clothes off and sit in the dressing room.
Why? Did they keep the shoes on?
I don't know. Flair got drunk and run up down the hallways all the time, playing with the boys.
It's so odd as well. With Robert Fuller, I hear that, he always called it like smoking scripture or reading scripture instead of like a euphemism for smoking weed.
I don't know. I only wrestled him. I didn't hang out with him.
No.
I passed him in the dressing room, but I didn't hang out with him, so I couldn't say.
Yeah, was he ever your booker? Did he ever... Was he a booker in USWA? No.
Well, he was, but not when I was there. When we were there together, he was working just like I was. My first program was with me and this guy, Judge Dredd, against Jeff Jarrett and Robert Fuller for the first few weeks.
Next one is Spike Dudley.
Who?
Spike Dudley.
Oh, Spike's great. He's one of the best.
He always struck me as someone who was really game to do anything.
Yeah, the only thing I disagree with Spike was he wasn't into training. He wasn't into working out. And so I just, I'm not a big bodybuilding fan, but I am when it comes to, looking the part. And for me, Spike didn't really look the part, but he was very good.
He wasn't into getting taller either.
What's that again?
He wasn't into getting taller either.
No, he's a little guy. I say, even if you're small, little, you still should have muscles.
Yeah, always get a tan, always hit the gym, sort of be the best you, even if you're small.
Well, the thing is, my uncle taught me, he said, when the guy in the front row is in better shape than you, you're not going to make any money.
That's absolutely fine. That's a fine piece of advice.
I agree with it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, if you're turning up looking like the fans, you should turn up in a suit, star in some way or fashion. Next one is sorry.
Like, it's good to have a wrestler who's one of the people, but they all can't be one of the people,
Yeah. Elektra.
What's that?
Elektra.
She's a very nice girl. I don't know. I haven't dealt with her that much. She's pretty cool.
Gary Albright.
Very cool. They called him Jekyll and Hyde because when he got drunk, he turned to Dr. Jekyll. Hyde. He turned into Hyde.
Yeah, he turned nice.
He's crazy.
Yeah, so talk to me a bit more about Gary Albright. I really don't know much about this guy. I know he's huge. He's a big star in Japan.
He was from the University of Nebraska or Nebraska State wrestling team, and he was a Big Ten champion and national champion and a great amateur wrestler, and he was a crowbar.
Oh, so you never had an easy match with him then?
No. Well, I never wrestled him. He's like my partner, so I was saved from that. But I had guys in there saying, does he have to throw me on my head? I go, does he throw you on your head? He goes, yeah. I go, well, I guess he has to.
Next one is Mr. Curtis Hughes.
Mr. Hughes, he's cool. I was with him the other day, or this morning, actually. We go way back.
Yeah, I interviewed him a couple of weeks ago, in fact, and he really surprised me. He was full of personality. I wasn't sure what I was going to get, but yeah, he was loads of fun.
Bubbly.
Yeah, he was a bubbly character. The Pitbulls.
Well, one died. Anthony died, and me and Gary are like one of the best friends.
I've interviewed Gary. He'll say this as well, but you can confirm. Are they the guys who could get you anything?
Would be Gary, yeah.
Yeah.
He did get us anything,
Yeah.
everything.
What was his involvement away from wrestling? Was that like a full-time sideline for him?
No, I think he worked at the nightclubs as a bouncer also, and then his side job was getting stuff for the boys.
Yeah. Lucrative, I imagine. Next one is Jimmy Snuka.
He's one of my idols. My uncle, when I first started wrestling, he said, pattern yourself after three great workers. So one great worker is the Sheiks, the next one was Tiger Mask, and the third one was Jimmy Snuka. Those three together, when I patterned myself, that's what I make the style of Sabu in my mind.
Yeah, so specifically the high flying, but what else did you take from Snuka?
And good shape Snuka. He had a great body. He was a good example for me to lead.
Did you wrestle him in?
Good example for me to follow.
Maybe in the ring. With Jimmy and Easton, how was he to deal with? Did you ever wrestle him in the Eastern Championship?
No, I wrestled him in New York one time for another company years later. But no, we talked a little bit, but he was kind of spaced out. And I didn't know him before he was spaced out, so it wasn't like I only seen him on TV and I admired him. I didn't hang out with him.
Yeah, well, I do a weekly show with Don Morocco, and he's told me so many Jimmy Snuka stories over the years. I don't suppose you would have met Don, would you? Did he leave before you arrived?
Well, no, I met him in Hawaii one time, but not in ECW.
No, okay, because I know he was a former champion, but I think he just ended up leaving before you turned up. Ian Rotten. Ian Rotten, the other Rotten brother.
Yeah, he's a good friend of mine, and he doesn't get the respect he deserves. He's been running for like 15 years, and nobody gives a shit.
Well, specifically, because when you type in Ian Rotten's name searching, you don't hear the best of things usually. But as a friend, tell me some of the nice things he's done.
He never got me a hotel. I always stayed at his house, and it always tricked me. I'm going to stop by my house and get something to eat, and I'll take you to the hotel. Then he never take me. He's a good guy. He's one of my good friends. He's got heat with people, but not with me.
Okay, I was going to say that's the nicest thing. He didn't buy you a hotel room.
I like him.
Test Andrew Martin.
I didn't like him.
No,
I can't say I like him. Yeah, I didn't like him.
Anything you care to elaborate on, or shall I move on?
Well, he thought he was the new ECW leader, and that he's going to boss everybody around. But he tried bossing me around, and I didn't like it.
So, what were the circumstances? What was he trying to tell you to do?
Well, he goes. Vince says I got to kick you hard in the face. I said, but if you can't work it, you can't kick me hard in the face. He goes, no, I have to. I said, no, you can't. You don't have to. If you can't work it, you can't do it. He goes, no, Vince says I have to. I said, you kick me hard in the face, you'll never kick me again. He kicked me hard in the face, and I never let him again.
Did you end up wrestling him quite a few times, or was it just that one?
Yeah. No, a few times. And every time he had to lay his big boot in and knock the shit out of me. And I said, if you can't do that without knocking the shit out of me, you can't do that.
So, I mean, I always thought he just did because he had those, well, I'll scrub that bit out, but, slap on the leg, miss you by a foot.
No. That slap on the leg was a work. He was kicking you. He was stomping you with his foot.
So, do you think he was getting orders to sort of assume a leadership role, or
no? Because when he was getting too stiff, he got taken down.
Right, but by you or by
because everybody who worked with him complained, and I'm not a complainer. When I complain, there's something wrong.
Yeah, definitely. When you say he got taken down, was this by you or by somebody else?
No, by the office. They took him out of his position because he was gonna, like I said, they thought he was gonna be the leader of ECW, and he just ended up being another guy. I personally don't like him, but I liked his work other than his big boot.
Yeah. Okay. Looking at the time, we've got about 5 minutes, so I'll ask you 5 minutes worth of names, and then I will thank you very much for your time once again. Rob Black.
Rob Black.
Yeah.
XBW bus. I don't know. I talked to him lately. I'm friends with him now, but I wasn't for a while.
Yeah, it's funny. The first time I said Rob Black, and immediately a smile turns up. Is he just? What was he into?
He was the porn guy.
He was the porn guy. Got a year and a day in prison or something, didn't he, for obscenity?
Yes. Yes.
Something like that, I think.
Well, yeah. When you cross state lines with porn, there's some rules apply, and he didn't care.
No. With this next one, Louis Piccoli.
Best friend in the world. I loved him.
Yeah, I don't hear too much about Louis, and everybody who's met him says he was great. Talk about Louis a bit.
Yeah, he was a great worker, and he had a great memory, but he was he rubbed people the wrong way. Like if somebody was reading something, he'd look over their shoulder and piss them off. But he did that with everybody, and he didn't care. He didn't even notice he's pissing them off. But he hung out with me. He rode in my motorhome. Me, Louis Piccoli, Van Damme, Fonzie, my referee. We rode in my motorhome. It was us five, jamming.
Jamming, having a good time. Was Louis? Did he have the potential to be a real superstar?
Yes. He had it. He had it, except for the pills got the best of him. He had it.
Yeah. Gangrel, Vampire Warrior.
I love the gimmick. I love his look. And I like him.
Beulah McGillicuddy.
I don't have much dealings with it. I said hello, goodbye. I don't really have no good or bad, nothing.
Yeah. Of the women who are in ECW, and I'm not saying the closest, wink, wink. I'm saying who are the ones who you're more friends with in the ECW locker room? Hyatt, Missy Hyatt, something?
No. Well, I wasn't that close with any of them because my wife was always close by. I'd only say hello in passing and stuff. I didn't really go out of my way. Now Francine was different. She was one of the boys. You said hello to her like you would to Hulk Hogan. It didn't matter if she was one, because in those times there weren't many women wrestlers, and she wasn't considered a woman wrestler.
She was one of the boys, in a sense. Yeah, absolutely. Rhino.
Definitely one of the boys. He's one of the guys that helped start.
Oh, did you really? You mean you trained him, or?
I trained. Yeah, Scott Demore started him, but I helped break him in, taught him more, and taught him how to be a Rhino. Yeah,
I know that I know that you did a WWF tryout in '93, but Rhino did as well, like '95, '96 time. Was he? Because he struck me as someone Vince would have loved. Huge legs and everything. Was he just too young at the time?
He was too young at the time. He thought he was going to wrestle sort of like me, doing backflips and big bumps. And then when I seen him doing that, I told him not to do that, to wrestle like an animal. And that's when he got noticed. But that was way after his tryout. But my tryout was in '94.
Yeah, okay. Right, we've got 1 minute left, so I'll ask two more then. Ron Simmons.
Great guy. I like him, love him.
Okay. Big Dick Dudley.
Oh, he was a good guy. He'd die for you. He was the bouncer of our dressing room.
Well, yeah, I've heard this. I've heard that he was like a proper badass. He's never lost a fight in his life. Where did he learn how to take care of himself?
Yeah, I don't know, but I don't know if that's true, if he's ever lost a fight in his life, but I could believe it. I could see it.
I'll give you a couple more and close it down. Bruce Pritchard.
Only talked to him one time, not much dealings with him.
Okay. Well,
I'm sure he doesn't.
I'll give you two more then still. Insane Clown Posse.
They were good friends. Still good friends, I guess.
Yeah. Were they some of your regular bookers, or were for years?
They was 10, 15 years ago, yeah.
Yeah. With the Juggalos, have you ever been more in fear of your life in a crowd?
No. When they were throwing stuff, they weren't aiming for me. They're aiming for the other guys.
Yeah, but
the people, those fans, they loved me. They were throwing stuff at me.
Yeah, but I mean, they must have been so drunk. Like, some of their aim must have really been off.
When the crowd participates like that, you just soak it in.
I'll tell you what, I'll end with this. What's the hardest thing you've ever been hit by from a fan? A
full can of beer hit me in the back of the head.
What, in a glass? Or
no, in a can of beer.
Oh, sorry.
Open, through it. And I was watching Man Pablo was in the ring also, and somebody threw a tin can in the ring and it bounced off his head, and he sold it. It was an empty can. I said, "Someone hits me with a tin can. I'm not selling it." Bam! Someone hit me with a brick.
You had no choice to sell it.
Yeah, I had to.
Oh, right. Okay, then we've spent some good time together. We've had another great interview. If you ever want to do more, I'd love to have you on more. But for now, thank you very much, Sabu, for joining us. Thank you very much for everyone, and we'll catch you again next week.
Thank you.
Thank you, man.